Lightweight. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, nieces and nephews, to another episode of Too Good to Be Drew. I am your host, Drew Davis, a certified life and performance coach, and also a former collegiate and professional NFL player. And on Too Good to Be Drew, we take time to dive into current events and the news of what's going on in the world today. But we also take time that I let you guys in on my life and what's going on a day to day and week to week basis. And after that, we also get into things such as coaching and also advice for people that want to hit the voicemail line. So without further ado, let's get into the latest episode. Lightweight, baby. Lightweight. Y'all know it. Lightweight. I'm trying to find the applause. So I'm over here procrastinating and I'm trying to slow time down, but here it goes. Now, we're not going to sit here and do that every single time, but I usually do that when I have guests on. But what up, everybody? It is Friday. I am a little bit hyped up. Got some special things, got some things I did last night, got some things that are going on today, got some things that are moving on as we go forward. But I'm trying this new thing. And for everyone out there, for the people that follow the show, for the people that are finding the show, just hang tight. I'm going to try to find a time to go live 2 or 3 times a week. Might be the episodes that I'm filming, might be a little bit of coaching. Not 100% sure, but honestly, I just need to get some concrete days in line. And for those that don't know, well, I hit that lightweight, baby. I'm downstairs. I'm making some tea. I'm heating it up, and I'm doing some vocal work that I used to do as an actor in acting school. The warm-ups that we had to do, I try to do those before I get on this podcast, especially if it's early in the morning. My girlfriend says I come on here sniffling, so I try not to do that. But what is it? Ronnie Coleman, the weightlifter. He would scream in the weight room, lightweight, baby. And he has on 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 plates, just crushing them, talking about lightweight. So look up them old videos if you can. But I was just in a mood where I was warming up and I started screaming a little bit and I said lightweight, and I was just getting in this good mood to get up and do this show since it's Friday. Now, usually these shows are pre-recorded and I already have them ready batched out for you guys. But we just ended a series called Interviewing 101. And I would have the episodes for you if I was prepared, but I'm not today. They're written somewhere on Threads. So, matter of fact, let me get on Threads real quick because I'm trying to do better when I just do this show to just do the show and do the show instead of over here making sure everything is perfect. Um, and if you look at the podcast, Too Good to Be Drew, which is this, or if you see it on YouTube, whatever it might be, episode 47, 48, 63, 64, and this right here is episode 65. And so as I say that, this is going to be a little bit of everything what we do right here today. But it's mostly going to be going over that. But then there's some stuff that when I was lying in bed thinking this morning before I got up, I was like, you know what? I got to talk about a few things because there's some things I ran across on Instagram, and there's just some good things to talk about. So the very first bit of news for you guys today is a very special day. It's my big sister's birthday. Slamming Sammy Sosa. She's been a great big sister. She's the biggest sister, actually. So she's the best, biggest sister. I have another big sister who's also the best. But it's her birthday, 10/10. Not hard to forget it. Man, she is a person I look up to. She is a person that when I was younger, she was a high school person that I was like, man, when I'm that age, I hope I'm that cool. She was a person with the big old stereo in her room. When my mom used to buy her all the CDs when we went to Best Buy, she had that big old CD booklet with all the covers and the artwork for the albums that she was listening to. She is where I get my great taste in music from. And I just remember her. I posted a video today, as you guys can probably hear the garbage trucks outside right now. And that's what's great about podcasts, not having to be perfect, letting y'all know that, like, yo, we going through some, not going through some stuff, but there's some stuff happening in the outside world. Like, I usually film this super early in the morning, super late at night, but it's Friday. The trash comes by here at night. So hope you hear that and hope you know that we're stuck in the realness. But she's where I get my great taste in music from. And she was listening to, she was a big sister that never really allowed you into her room. So, but she would be playing music and you could hear it through the walls or just through the house. And she'd be playing, Master P. She had all the albums, but Master P, Silk the Shocker, Mystical, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Missy Elliott. Who am I missing? Who else I'm missing? I don't think she was listening to M Ball and 8 Ball and MJG back then, but she is where I get my music taste from. And I posted I posted a picture of us shoot from when I was in college on Instagram today, and the music I put, one song was Missy Elliott, the other song was Bout It by Master P, and some music that's synonymous with her. But like I used to look up to her when I was little. She had the Jordan, she dressed great, she played sports. Hopefully she's shedding a tear. She's listening to this. But it was just a great time. It was a great time growing up in that household, having those influences and those people to look up to and inspire to be. And one thing that we still crack up to this day, and that's why I still eat ramen noodles. Hold on, let me get some in my beer. Y'all ain't gonna tell me I got nothing in my beer. What kind of people are y'all? Um, so that's why I still eat ramen noodles till this day. She would come home from like track practice and she would kick us off the TV when I was watching wrestling or my sister was watching Monkey Trouble, whatever it was, my sister Angela. And she would just kick us off and she would put on like Martin, mostly Martin, or she put on those black shows that were going on around the time in Living Color. Trying to think about what else might have been on during that time. And that's kind of where I got my first little dose of like, oh, this is what I should be watching when I get to that age. Like I should have my little show. Now, granted, I never grew up and I still haven't grown up to this day. I'm still watching SpongeBob and Dexter's Laboratory and Courage the Cowardly Dog, all my favorite shows. And my animated movies too, Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs, Rango, stuff like that. But she would sit down and watch her shows in the living room, just chilling, just got home from practice and school, track practice, basketball practice, softball practice in school. And she would sit down and she would make herself like dinner or like a snack, after practice snack. And her snack was most of the time a sandwich, make two sandwiches, probably two sandwiches, and some ramen noodles. And so as I got older, I'm like, man, I can't wait till I get to that age where I can come home and make my little, my high school football player meal and I could sit down and watch my show. And by the time I got grown and like I was really going through high school, and both of my sisters had graduated high school already. So I was pretty much in the house by myself. So I don't even think I did all that. But till this day, I will still make a sandwich, make the entree, or make a meal of a sandwich or two, maybe a peanut butter and jelly, and some ramen noodles, and I'll eat that in honor of her. So happy birthday, big sis. Wouldn't be me if there wasn't a you. So thank you for the taste in music that you provided to me. And I greatly, 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 greatly appreciate you. And I am a retired and former, well, I haven't really retired, but I'm a former football player. And with being a former football player, there's a lot of chapters that we have in probably each state or the major cities for guys that live in that city to come and join and kind of hear about what they have going on and to kind of help each other and have and build this community of people that are just thriving and checking in. We've lost a couple of our brothers over the last couple weeks to death. Not exactly 100% sure what the circumstances are surrounding those, but as everybody knows, suicide rates are at an all-time high. Mental health is at an all-time high for people that feel alone, that don't feel supported, that are really just going through some stuff. And for us to change that, we have to build community. And so we get these emails every once in a while for a lot of things, but one of the things is chapter meetings. So if there's any former players listening to this, former professional players or college players, there are some like I wouldn't say chapter meetings, but there are some organizations of alumni and stuff like that that you can get involved with. So even if you just went to school, like just stuff like that to build community. And so we have this thing, it's the chapters, the NFLPA, the LA chapter, the Los Angeles chapter, and former players that live in the area. They will throw an event and they will all come and just, chill, kick it, get informed and updated on, benefits or just structural things that are changing, or there'll be somebody there to answer questions for anybody that is either not confused, but either doesn't know something or is just looking for more clarification. And so in LA yesterday, we had our chapter meeting, and I don't go to all the chapter meetings because one, sometimes they're during the week and fighting traffic to get down there, finding a place to park, depending on whatever it is, spending 2.5 hours driving to get there. And I live up north, so maybe an hour and a half to get back. So 4 or 5 hours. Life happens, right? So I plan to go to some of them, but being in a position like I am as a trust captain, I try to show up to those things because I work for an organization called The Trust, which is another benefit that former players get. And right now we have about half of the players that are eligible to be enrolled. And so being a constant face that shows up, that gives people someone to talk to and somebody to know, like, hey, and I'm the only one on the West Coast as well. But for people to say, hey, Drew lives out in California. He's talked about the trust. I've seen him a couple times. Hey, you got a former teammate. Oh, hey, let me plug you in with Drew. Here's Drew's information. You need to find a way to get in contact with Drew Davis. He lives out here. He can be a resource for you. So last night, go to this NFLPA PA chapter meeting, and there's maybe 20 to 30 players there, but it's at a place called EPLP. I don't know if I just said that. So for people that's in California, know it's this little swanky. Is that right? There's this bar downtown establishment, but they have a rooftop bar and it gets really popping. I've only been there like 2 or 3 times, but it's a place that you'll hear people saying some songs or go eat. No, never mind, that's catch. But you'll hear people say it in a song to go eat and things like that. And so we pull up there, and there's people there. I know my boy Brandon Myrie, and then also was it Gerard Bunch? I think I said his name right. They are some of the either the president and the secretary or the treasurer, one of the two. But pull up there, it's good. I'm looking forward to eating some food because I'm a fat boy. And so we pull up, I say what's up to them. I start talking to players, introducing myself. And that's the other thing. Like I say, when you're trying to stay and be connected, football players were always 1 degree of separation away. I met a couple people. I met a dude, his name was Cam, and he played at Syracuse. And then I'm over here racking my brain to figure out who played at Syracuse with him around the same time that I might have known. And then it popped in my head. It was my boy Jerome Smith. And he said a saying, he said, hay is never in the barn or something like that. I guess that's what Jerome used to say to the team or to him. And so that's a connection we had and we made. And we was able to exchange information. But he splits his time between California and Florida. But now this is another, connection for me that I have and another person that I can support or to be able to talk to him to get other former players or guys or friends he knows in touch with me. And so I think that was awesome. But during this time, we took pictures, we sat down, we talked for a little bit. There was a football game on, but there wasn't any TVs in there. But it was a great time to connect. There was Malik Jackson, who was an all-star, a Pro Bowl type player, an All-Pro player for the Denver Broncos for their Super Bowl runs, for those great defenses they had, who brought a whole bunch of resources for players to tap into. And he's doing a really, really great job in just figuring out how to help us and how to further the mission for life after football. For it being health, for the health reasons that he says. And through this whole thing, there was an older player there. And why I'm getting to this is because of this point right here. There was an older player there, and the older player was by the name of Marv Fleming. Old cat. He looked like he might be. I'm not gonna put no age on him. He got some wisdom to him. Let's just say that he got some wisdom to him. And so they wanted him to talk really quick, and he was real soft spoken, so wasn't speaking too loud, so I could barely hear him. But after we wrapped up, I got some time to talk to him one on one. And as I was talking to him one on one, I was like, he tells me where he's from. I told him I was, I'm from Colorado. He said, "Oh, I almost went to school there, but instead I went to school in Utah." And then he starts telling me his story. And so even before, when they first introduced me to him and I walked in, they said, "This is the legendary Marv Fleming." And they were like, 5-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time champion. I'm like, ooh. So I was like, all right, so I got to look this dude up. And so Marv Fleming, he played tight end NFL for 12 seasons in the National Football League, 7 with the Green Bay Packers, my favorite team, the best team walking God's green earth, 5 with the Miami Dolphins, and then and also a member of 5 NFL championship teams. Played college football at Utah from Compton. And then as I was talking to him, he's telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, he said he's very fortunate. Like he made sure to say that. That's one thing he said to the group when he talked. He said he was very fortunate. And he said that, and he was like, "I'm very fortunate." He said he had I think some black spots on his brain, and he went in for I think it was I don't want to say infrared, but it was some type of treatment. And now all the black spots are gone. And so he just said he was fortunate. And so when I talked to him, I got to find out even more reasons why he was fortunate. He said he drove off, him and a friend drove off a cliff. I think he said when he was in 11th grade and he broke his neck. And then even after that, he still was able to go to college. He starts telling me this story about how he's in Vegas and all his friends are playing Texas Hold'em or something, and they're trying to get him to play. And he's like, "No, I don't want to play. I'm not going to play." And then finally he plays and he said, "Guess how much I won?" I say, "150K." He say, "More." 250K. More. 500K. More. 750K. More. 800K. 1.4. I was like, huh? And he said, and I gave it all away. I'm like, what you mean you gave it all away? He said, I gave it all away. So I still don't know. So pause here. I don't know if this is, the older you get, the longer the walk to school was. I don't know if this one of those types of conversations or interactions. But at the same time, I'm just like, I'm soaking everything in. I'm soaking everything in. And like I said, this is an OG. And I don't doubt that he went through all this stuff, but pretty much to find somebody, and I think the Super Bowls or the championships that he played in were like within those first 10 years of it being a NFL championship. So I didn't look up the stats or the numbers on it, but my audience is smart and you can. But he said he got five of those. And even when I asked him when he said he almost went to see you, I was like, "Oh, who was the coach there when you were going?" He said, "It was long before your time, youngster. It was long before your time." And so, but just having the interactions like this, and let me drink some tea real quick. Some chamomile tea. Get your vocals right, get your voice warmed up. And so what I mean is having interactions like this and being able to go and talk to people, to connect with people, especially football players or other people that are in your industry, is something that is really, really important. Like I said, there's a lot of people out here going through stuff, and being in this type of environment can help you connect with people, can help you further your business ventures or your support. But it can also just be that ease that you need. And I know a lot of former players, they talk about, you don't really get that locker room talk a lot of places. And for the people that know what that means, there's conversation. You can walk through a locker room, and if you stopped at every conversation that was being had, you might have a conversation about music. You might have a conversation about money. You might have a conversation about, health and body and how my body feels right now. You might have a conversation about, kids and the school that they're going to. You might have a conversation about a wife, a significant other. You might have a combination about the game plan for the week. You might have a conversation about some X-rated stuff from the club last night and whoopty whoopty woo. Like you might have just an allotment of stuff that pops up. But there's so many different people in the locker room. There's so many different personalities that we know sometimes there's stuff you talk about in the locker room that you probably couldn't talk about anywhere else, whether because it's X-rated or whether because nobody else would understand. And so that might be talking about a certain coach and how he coaches you, or, the game plan for that week, or just, you're on the last year of your contract and you just moved your family out here. And so you don't think you're going to get the contract you're going to get for this team. A lot of those conversations. And so I mean that to say, find where your community is. Find where your community is and make the effort to go to that community, to go meet up with that community. We live in a world where everything is social, we're all super connected, but yet we're disconnected. We sit down at a meal with a bunch of friends and family, and what are we doing? We're recording it, we're taking pictures of our food, we're still scrolling on Instagram so we don't miss anything instead of sitting there and being present. And so, what I mean, so when you find your group, find the in-person stuff. It's great to meet virtually once in a while or to meet or to check in, but we get so much more of being in person physically with other people. You can see how they look. You can see if they look good. You can see if they look bad. You can hear it in their voice whether they're good or they're bad. You can see from their appearance how they're showing up. And granted, we show up sometimes with all these fake cloth and these, Harry Potter invisible cloaks on where we dress up nice in a suit and nice shoes and this and that, but yet we're broke. Like, that happens too. So just really being able to sit down and ask people questions and being able to talk to people is very important. And because you can hear from what they say that things might not be okay, and you can do a little bit more digging. So those are the two things I wanted to talk about just to get things out of the way. But also there's this great thing that I want to talk about. because it's all because it really is awesome. And one of my boys, Dr. Jay Barnett, if you see him on Instagram, I posted something today on my story. But you can also look him up because he's got a big following. He was on the Breakfast Club today. I think they recorded it yesterday, dropped today. And, there's a clip that I ran across this morning where they're talking about male friendships. And Dr. J is talking about, he calls his boy JT, Dr. Joel Tudman. But he's talking to him and he's talking about, like, yeah, when we first started our relationship, like, he wasn't really feeling the relationship. Like, and it didn't bother me, but he's like, I'm sending the messages. And he said, first, our relationship started from a weight loss challenge. He said, we're trying to lose weight and we're trying to see who can get the least amount of body fat or who can have the least amount of body fat. So that's how the relationship started. But he said, he would leave me on red in my text messages that I sent him. And so with him knowing that, he says, I'm gonna start to, he said, it didn't bother me because I had done the work on my own. So him leaving me on red didn't trigger me because I've done the work to heal from that. Like, I don't know what this dude is going through or what his prior relationships are, but I just want to let him know I'm here for him. And so they got into a conversation, and pretty much Joel Tudman, and I'm not gonna mess up his name, but I don't say his name often or I don't know him directly, so I can't really, but I'll call him JT, Dr. JT. He talked about, that, he hadn't had a fostering friendship like that before. And so he was very guarded. And he also said that he was more so he was lion all the time instead of lamb. And Dr. Dr. J had said something about, Dr. J had done the work to where he can be a lion and a lamb, where he knows that balance. And JT said he didn't know about that balance. But Jay was perfect with what he said is because he said, men over 35, we don't really search out community. We don't really have community in a way. Like, if you don't have it by now, like, you're not going to go search and go get it. But it's a conscious effort to do it. So, like I said, with what I did yesterday, going to that event, meeting some new people, exchanging some numbers, we might talk, we might not talk. They got my number, I got theirs. If I'm thinking about them, I'm gonna call them and text them. These are people, some of the people, most of the people that are in this area. But this interview on the Breakfast Club is super important because I'm pretty sure they're talking a lot about healing. They're talking a lot about friendship. I'm sure they're talking a lot about, and they do a lot of their work with men. And so Joel Tubman is a pastor, and then Dr. J is a mental health specialist, mental health advocate, who's done a lot of work, who's also a former professional athlete. And so he does a lot of work with black men, and he does a lot of work with men, and he does some very good stuff. If you haven't listened to his podcast or his show, Just Heal with Dr. J. But I really wanted to talk about that because, and I was going to do that. I was going to talk about my first time. So the first time I met Dr. J was on a mental health panel for the Trust. And I think he was a moderator or a guest, and they had him on, and we just talked back and forth. There was a group of maybe 20 or 30 people that got on, and me and him shared some comments back and forth. I've been following him since that day, and I think that happened in the pandemic. So sometime either 2019 or no, maybe not even then. Honestly, maybe, ooh, I don't know. I must go ahead and say maybe 2021, 2022. I don't want to date myself, but I'm gonna say right around then. And so after that, I've been following him. He's been following me. We've got on a phone call or two. Nothing crazy, but we follow and we support each other. He was out here a couple months ago, and they were doing some stuff, and he's always shaking and moving, recording and working out. Dr. J, love the journey you've been on, man. Love the effort and the I love the effort and the transparency you've had moving through your journey. This is a person that used to be a trainer. And when he realized, like, yo, I'm getting a little out of shape or I'm out of shape, I need to get back in and I need to hire somebody to tell me what to do, somebody to be on me, that he did that. And so there's a lot of times like we could be specialized in something and we will not go and hire somebody else in order to, to keep us accountable and to teach us just because we think we have the wherewithal to do it ourselves. So he showed that, yo, I got a trainer. He's checking in on me. My meals are right. I'm working out once, maybe twice a day. Like, he's showing you all the things that you needed to see. And so I had never met him in person before. We had talked, we shared some messages back and forth. And then he was out here for an event for recording. So I said, "Hey man, like, he said, "Hey Drew, I'm out here. Like, let's connect on Friday." I'm like, "All right, bet, just let me know. I'll drive down to the city." And so, long story short, he was running low on time. And I was able to I pulled up, I pulled up on them to and I'm gonna forget this, but it's on the tip of my tongue. Dang, this used to be right down the street from my house. And I'm getting stuck. Let me take a sip of tea, hope it'll help. Irwan. There it is. Irwan. He was like, "Man, let's grab some food at the Irwan and we can do that before I dip out. I got about an hour and a half." I was like, "All right." So schedules got mixed up. He was more in a rush. He was like, "Yo, we already got here to eat," or he changed it. He changed the time and he changed the place. I'm not mad at him. He changed the time and he changed the location. No problem. I'm driving down there. I'm still gonna get there. I get there. He's actually with a friend who's from Denver, Colorado, who I played against in high school and who I know, my boy Kirshen Jones. And we sat down and talked for maybe 45 minutes, an hour. Then they're pretty much like, all right, we got a flight to catch. So I'm gonna send him in his Uber. I'm gonna take an Uber back to my hotel. And then we're gonna get to this flight. So Drew, is great seeing you, brother. And as he's sending Kirshen off in an Uber, I'm like, hey, where's your what hotel you going to? He's like, "Oh, I'm going here." So I look it up real quick. I'm like, "Oh, well, this is on my way to the house." Like, "Bro, I can take you. I'll drop you at your hotel. That ain't don't waste no Uber for that." He's like, "All right, bet." So me and him got to share another about 30 or so minutes in the car on the way to drop him off at his hotel. A little bit of talking, a little bit of just chilling, vibing out to music. He got a busy schedule. He got a lot he got to do. I just enjoyed the time with him, and I enjoyed just being able to do that small favor for him. And if the favor is not too great for me, like I'm all about helping people. And I've been better at that probably the last 4 to 6 years of my life, and I mean better in this aspect. There are times we don't want to be an inconvenience to people. So there's a time that somebody, we're eating somewhere and they want to, "Hey, where you going?" "Oh, I'm just going to catch an Uber home." "Hey, I'll take you." "Oh, no, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry. It's all right. I got it. I don't want to, I don't like," and we sit here and we do so much pushback when people are trying to do good for us or good things for us to show us that they care. And so I've stopped, when people, and I think it's an American thing where we're so just like, we cry that we need help, but then we don't accept the help when the help is given, if that makes sense. And so I've been doing better at that and just being like, "Yo, like, hey, I got you," or hey, cool, I'll take a ride. Oh, cool, you want to pay for this meal? Cool, I'm not gonna sit here and arm wrestle you and tussle you to not pay this meal and to pay it. Cool, you got this meal. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Love you. And so I've been doing better at that. And so it was just great to spend that time with him, to be able to be in that situation and circumstance, to be able to drop him off and to be able to just chill and meet them. And like I said, I believe in Kismet and God's wink. And so for those that don't know about God's wink, there's a prior episode, but it's pretty much being exactly where you're supposed to be at the exact right time. And so me to go get lunch or get a meal with Dr. J, I didn't even know about the other dude, but the other dude knew about me and knew I was coming. And so when I met him, I'm like, "Yo, you from Colorado? Oh, okay. We know such and such. We know this person. We knew that person. Oh, okay. Bet, man. We're connected." Like, and we've been tapped in since. So that's about those connections. And so as in what I want to backtrack to with Dr. J talking about, males that are 35 and up, I've been blessed to, and I think about this a lot, like great, and not even great friendships, but people always find me. Like I could be at a bar and the people next to me start talking to me or we have a conversation. Like I've never had a problem with conversation or meeting people. But I also talk about this a lot with my girlfriend is I played college football, I played NFL football, I played high school football, I played sports my whole life. And so if you look inside those little silos, when you're playing football growing up, there's 10 to 20 people on the team. When you get to high school, there's, 50 to 100 people on the team. When you're in college, there are 100 plus people on the team. When you're in the NFL, there's 60 to 70 plus people on the team. So you add up all these years, and not to say that teammates are your friends, but you have those environments to really find friends from. And you find friends from watching how they move. Of course, you're attracted to, the best player on the team or good players, but with friends, you kind of look at their habits and their discipline. Man, this person's a great leader. They're always here. Okay, cool. I'm gonna try to be like that because he sets the example. Okay, this person, they skip practice too. They don't come sometimes. Like, yeah, like that's my speed. I do that. And so as much as I'm talking about it and discussing it as far as like, the good and the bad of people on teams, like everybody finds their people to connect with. And there's some loners still. But what I'm saying is I've had like just based on sports alone. And then you can get into me working in college football, the people I work with, the players we've had, going to acting school, like being in college, like all these different environments where I've had a chance. I could say 1,000 plus people have come through my life in sports, in school, teachers and professionals as well, but sports and school and just all those that I've had 1,000 people to be able to pull from and to say, "Ooh, I like this person as a friend. Hey, I want to get to know this person better. Hey, I don't really know this person, but I see how they move and I really enjoy it." And so, if you're not in those areas or environments where you can get friends and pull friends from, but you also have to be vulnerable enough to do it. It's cool if you go to these conferences, but if you just hide in your room, if you go to the conference and you sit at the back or you sit at the front or you sit off to the side and when it's over and you dip out of there, you're not going to be able to meet people. But it takes being vulnerable and approaching people and saying, "Hi, my name is such and such. I'm from here. This is why I'm at this conference. What's your name? What do you do? Hey, what do you like to do outside of this? Okay, you like books? I like books. What's your favorite book? Dang, who's your favorite author?" Like that's how you create relationships and make friends. Not those just surface level questions. What do you do? And I think I said that in that sense. Okay, are you married? But like those questions that go a couple of layers deep. And so I pretty much talked myself in a circle. I know I did, but there was just some conformity with my event last night with the NFLPA, hearing Dr. J and Dr. Tudman, Dr. Tudman on the Breakfast Club this morning, and then also just wrapping that all up into my experience as an athlete and as a person. I sit at a bar when I go somewhere and I'm usually watching the game, but like I have no problem talking to the person next to me. So if you need to get better at your social skills, you gotta work on them. You gotta work on them. You gotta put yourself in places to be vulnerable and go into these conversations without I was gonna say ultimatum, but I don't think that's right. Without an agenda. Another word that starts with a. Ultimatum? No, see, I'm tripping. A U and a A. I'm tripping. I need more tea. Hold on. Go into the conversation without an agenda. If you're looking for friends, I think it's good to be thinking about that, to put that out in the universe, but have a conversation, see where it goes, ask a person, "Hey, do you mind if we exchange information?" I think that's good too. And then you can move forward or you can move around from there. And I think that's probably the most important piece of it. So, those are the three topics I wanted to talk about before we wrap up this series on Interview 101. Now, oh, yeah, that's it. But more housekeeping. Somebody hit me up and told me that there was an episode where my mic was popping. There was a little bit of inconsistency. I care, but I also don't care. I appreciate that. The person that told me that. But because when I record these things and when I put them out, one big problem I had was perfection. I was trying to be perfect. I was trying to be perfect. What if somebody hears that and they don't listen? Oh, what if they think about I don't have a professional show because this happened on this? And so I'm a little bit more relaxed and cool. Do I like my mop? Do I like my microphone popping, on my episodes or on my podcast that people are listening to? No. But I'm glad I got a mic. I'm glad the sound's clear. I'm glad I don't sound crazy. I'm glad I'm turning on the camera and recording. So for those that are hesitant on doing something, don't wait to be perfect, man. My problem, and when I wait to be perfect, I'll self-sabotage, I'll procrastinate on doing something. I'll say, "Hey, this element ain't right, this situation ain't right, this ain't right, that ain't right," instead of just doing it. I listened to something earlier, and I'm gonna try to get you guys what it was, but it was ready, ready, fire, aim. So it's saying like get in there, do it. Usually you say ready, aim, fire, but ready, fire, aim. Ready? Oh, let me do it. All right, cool. Now let me see where I need to aim, where I need to adjust, where I need to do something different. And so we'll go into, and I don't have much feedback. Let me crack my neck real quick. I don't have much feedback. And I asked people, I said, "Hey, check out these episodes. Let me know what I missed." And there are episodes, and I just said them at the beginning of this episode, but this will be I think it's the fifth. No, one, two, three, four. Yeah, I think this is either the fifth or the sixth. Bear with me. And this was just going to be what I missed. And I'll give you the quick wrap up of everything. For the episodes, I wanted to talk about beginning and end to when you get an interview, how to nail that interview, be prepared, and follow up and do really well. How to show up, how to be in your interview, how to be after your interview. Whole bunch of prep work and resources that you can use. And this is just straight from the horse's mouth. I have I've always been offered the job when I've gone in for an interview. I've never went in for an interview and they say, "Hey, we're gonna go with another candidate." Anytime I get to sit down in front of the people that I'm trying to amaze, I do excellent at. And there is a caveat because there was, a certain situation where I ran into with a talent scout for a sports podcast that thought I was a shoe-in for, and he pretty much ghosted me after I did the research and looked into some things. He just never got back to me. Granted, the guy could be laying in a hospital somewhere or, in a cemetery buried somewhere by now. Hope he's not. But it was unprofessional on his part, but I handled everything the best that I could. So that's probably the only job that I missed out on that I didn't get because somebody wasn't, somebody who expressed interest in me lost interest, I guess, or heard something about me. I don't know. But these interviews, I thought it was very important because I've always had people in my life that guided me in the right direction, that helped me with everything I was doing. And I am a well put together young man. Like my parents did a great job, my coaches, my mentors, they did a great job. But also like I know how to do the work on my end. I know how to go into an interview prepared, ready, looking great from head to toe, just looking the part and being the part while still being myself. And I think there are so many young men, especially in this generation, that are running around that don't know the importance, of showing up as your best self. I hope they hear this concession or this session of interviews of interview 101 and they look at it and say, "You know what? I never thought about it that way. I've never I've never approached it like that. I've never looked into it like that." Like what you don't know, you don't know. How can you be mad at, what you don't know? But after you have somebody tell you, at that point you know. And this is honestly, this went from surface level stuff all the way up to like top tier stuff for when you're going for CEO positions or when you're starting your own business and you're interviewing people what to look for, how to act, what to do. And I had a great homeboy who sent in some questions and pretty much not going to say I didn't miss anything, but I just kind of wanted to just kind of softly go over, not everything, but just softly and what I was thinking. And for the most part, I explained everything just like I wanted to. I explained, the interview is one way before you even step into that room by the research and the prep work that you do. If you've been brought in for the interview, don't plan on it just being one interview. Plan on it being multiple. Like if you're going for a position that is not of high need, but if you're going for a position that is how do I put this? If you're going for a position that, some type of salary, you're not really going to have a job you go for that pays a salary that's going to do one interview and just say, hey, you're hired. You usually go through about two or three interviews, maybe with HR, maybe with your person who's going to be your manager or director, and then maybe, the person who is going to be like over the overall staff or maybe the vice president or something like that, like usually three. But the thing I liked about it is because I approached this and I had to remind myself like there aren't, these days, there aren't very many interviews that are happening in person. Like now with what they can do now, cool. We can interview, 30 people in the span of a week when we could only usually do X amount. Like it's very more I wouldn't even say cost beneficial, but time beneficial for what everybody else is doing. And so, cool, we can interview all these people and really get the lay of the land and maybe push them to two interviews before we have to bring them out or hire them or bring them in. And so I'm very happy because I just didn't look about that. I just didn't look like, hey, this is how I used to do it back in my day. Like, honestly, my last in person interview, and I've been working and owning my own business. And our last in-person interview was when I got hired at UCLA as their director of player development. And so since then, I got hired as a life coach. I've done other interviews, but honestly, that's the last one. And so being able to take that in-person interview and change it to virtual and what you guys should be focusing on virtual, it was real clear to me like how much the world has changed in a good way. To the point where you ain't got to leave your house to do an interview for a job that you could possibly get. And a lot of stuff I talked about, camera, lighting, background, level of camera, microphone, internet, outside noise, like a whole bunch of that stuff I was proud of because it's a lot of stuff that we kind of don't think about or we haven't had anybody tell us. And in a world where we make content, we're a little bit more, I would say we're more in tune to that. But I'm pretty sure that there are some people who are hermits or introverts and hopping on an interview is very hard. But just wrapping everything up, man, I try to really figure out what things I missed. I went back and listened to every episode and was like, all right, I love everything I said there. There might have been one or two things I thought of, but I don't want to beat a dead horse. I wanted it more so to be advice from other people. And one of my homegirls, Chazzy Chat, shout out Chazzy Chat. She reiterated what I said in one of the episodes where I said, man, I said, show up and be yourself. Unless you suck, show up and be yourself because there's nothing worse than going into an interview and feeling uptight. And granted, like I said in that same episode, interviews aren't super fun. They're hard, they're difficult. You're standing in front of people you don't really know and you feel like you're being judged and on a scale for getting hired for this position. But at the end of the day, like people want to hire and work with other fun people or other interesting people. Cool, you can come in here and do the work, but are we going to enjoy doing the work with you and around you? Is a very important thing. So, walking in there and being your authentic self, because you can walk out of that room and not get that job, but you can be in line for a job later down the road just because you stood out so much in this interview. But I think if you show up there and you're a great person and you're not a shithead, you're going to be able to have a good chance to get this job because you've already been brought in for the interview. Brought in for the interview. But can you make people laugh? Can you show them that you know your stuff? Can you be relatable? Can you show that you've grown and developed through the jobs and other things that you've done in your life? Can you show that you can be a leader? Can you show that you can be a follower? Can you show that you can galvanize people? Can you show that you're supportive? Like all these things. Like I said, if you're a great, awesome person, be a great, awesome person. If you suck and you're boring, you might try to be somebody else if you suck or you're boring. Don't be yourself. Try to be somebody else. But I know that as humans, we're built a certain way. We've grown up in a certain environment. But when you're going for a job, just remember that that job or that career or that business or that organization, they're trying to figure out if you're a good fit for them, but you're also trying to figure out if they're a good fit for you. So even though you need this job and you got bills to pay and a phone bill to pay and Disney trips to take, it's not worth your mental health. It's not worth your state of mind to enter into a toxic work environment or a place that's not really organized or a shitty boss or anything like that. Excuse my language. I'm trying not to cuss on here. So all that's very important. So as we wrap up interview 101, I still want to keep it open to people that say, yo, I think you didn't talk about this area. I think you could have gone deeper into this. Maybe we'll make this a semi-annual thing. The more we get the younger generation to kind of tune in to be able to say questions for it. But for the most part, the interview 101, that's probably the most important series that I've done in the past and in the show thus far. Because like I took everything that my mentors and people around me have told me and for me, they were always common sense things. But of course, there's some things I learned along the way. How to walk in, give a great handshake and eye contact, how to walk in like I'm excited to be there and happy to be there. Um, and one big thing, and it's funny, and I'll just say this last story before I get off here. My mentor, my mentor, and he's my big brother, he was my high school coach. It's so funny because even at the age of, I think I was 33 around this time, I interviewed for the position I have now with the trust, and I'm setting up my station. I didn't have the office and the stuff I did now. I was just in a house, and so I had to find the right room and make sure everything was good. And he knew I had this interview, and so he gave me a call. After I was setting up, and I'm talking to him before the interview, and he's like, hey, what are you wearing? Like, what's your background? Like, what you got? What you got in the room with you? Okay, you got good lighting? Okay, good. You all right. Like he was checking on me like I was like 14 years old. And it made me laugh because it shows me like he met me when I was about 14. And so maybe I might still seem like that 14-year-old little dude to him. But it was also just him making sure I was set up for success to get this job. And I thought it was real cute and real funny that he called me to kind of check in and make sure I was good to go. But that's the type of mentorship that I love. You know what I mean? People that don't just assume something, people that show they how they show up. They show you by how they show up. And he showed up by calling and asking and telling me to send pictures of how my area looked and to call me after to so he can know exactly how it went. And I'm probably gonna text him today and remind him of that. But for those that are a mentee or a mentor, like that's what it looks like to show up to double check, to cross your T's, dot your I's for somebody else. But more so, you're showing them and you're in tune that what's going on in their life and what they're going through is still important to you. And so I've talked for way too long. Y'all know how we do on these episodes. We try to keep them a little bit shorter, but just had some good things to talk about. And this is Fast Friday. So as you go out, you hit the ground running, you do what you're supposed to do. Don't try to sneak out of the office early and cut out on some work and say you'll finish it on Monday. Hit it full throttle so you can have a great weekend knowing that you expended yourself and all you can do and all that's inside of you. So once again, I'm Uncle Drew. Appreciate you, nieces and nephews, for stopping in on this Fast Friday. Reach one, teach one, pick up a book, spend some time with a loved one, enjoy October, carve a pumpkin, get your Halloween costume ready, put on some scary movie, scream at the top of your lungs. That wasn't me screaming at the top of my lungs because my voice can't really get that high. But outside of that, I've talked your ears off. I hope you are good. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And I holla. Stay healthy.